Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. This video is kind of an offshoot of the JJ 10-minute makes because it answers a couple questions that I had regarding how to put the quick bases that we created and put them in the covers that we created. And so that's what this is going to do, hopefully, is just show you quickly how I attach the two together. Now, the three different kinds of quick bases that I created were using envelopes or greeting cards or cardstock that were folded like greeting cards. So no matter which of the systems you chose, this same insertion system will still work. Okay, and with the envelopes, you have the envelope flaps, right, that you can use to adhere to your to the cover. If you're using cards, instead of the little flaps like this, it's just a bigger sheet. So it's essentially, you've got two pieces on each side, one on the front, one on the back, that are fuller sheets, and then you can adhere them down the same way. And then I showed the cover video. So in this video, we're not going to actually make the bases. We're not going to make the covers because those have already been done in other videos. I'm just going to show you how I put them together. Okay, so I took one of the covers, and this one happens to be, now on the covers I showed a couple different ways where it has a solid spine, where it has, just a front, just in a back, and a completely open spine, or this kind where it's a partial spine. And this particular piece of crocheted, whatever it was that I'd found it, thrifting or antiquing, was this size, and I just attached it to the front piece of the cover and the back piece of the cover. I sewed it on, but you could glue it, whatever you want. And these are just chipboard that has been covered with fabric. And the fabric that I used for this is Antiquities for Quilting Treasures, quiltingtreasures.com. And I don't know what the name of this particular fabric is other than it might be Antiquities. Maybe there's several on that line. So if you're wanting this particular fabric, and then this is just a thrifted piece, but really any lace or crocheted bit or doily, what have you, any of those things could work. Now I had coffee dyed envelopes, one of these already set up and established, which is why I made the cover to fit this. But it doesn't matter if it's smaller or wider or whatever, you do it the exact same way. So when you've got your front cover completed, whether it's just your front and back cover, whether it's just two individual pieces or pieces that you've attached together, there's no cover on the inside yet because we'll cover that afterwards. Then you take your base, whatever base you chose, and glue it in place. And sometimes I'll use the Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium, or the Collage Medium Matte, I should say. And sometimes I'll use the Art Glitter Glue, Barely Arts Glue, Reptile Glue. I'm not a fan of using double-sided adhesive, like, the score tape or score pal or what have you, simply because when weather extremes happen, like super hot or super cold, I have had these things pull apart. So it's not my first or go-to solution. Yeah, it's a great option and I use it, but it's just not necessarily my first option. Okay, so how do you decide on your spine? Normally, I would decorate the pages first so that I know how wide I need my spine to be. But in this case, I will tailor the pieces I put in the journal to fit this spine. And I just left myself, I don't know, maybe that's what, 2.5 inch gap. No, it's almost exactly 2 inches. It's a 2-inch gap so that I can put a lot of things into the pages or on the pages and allow it to expand. And one of the things that was nice about the 3 different bases that I shared is that you have as much or as little expandability as you want. Okay, so you can see here, I didn't glue all of these all the way closed, and I should have, but it's an easy thing to come back in later on and fix. And if you haven't had the bases done or whatever, please go back to that video. It's on a playlist. I believe I put it onto the playlist that say JJ 10-minute makes, hashtag JJ 10-minute makes. And so you get a lot of expandability, and that's one of the things that I really like about this particular system. To make these, like I said, I just took some chipboard. I put Wonder Under on the fabric, and then I ironed the whole thing together. And then because I prefer stitches, I sewed around the whole base of the front, and then I attached them together by sewing on this crocheted piece. Then I took a button. Where did I put it? I had one here for you. Here we go. So I had this little button, and I used the Tim Holtz distress tool. You can use your awl, you can use anything you want to poke the holes for the button, and then I sewed it on with a little bit thicker string. It's not standard sewing thread, but it's also not, twine like this. It's just a little bit thicker thread. I don't know how well you can see that, but between the button and the background, because what I'm going to do is loop this around to tie it, right? I put one of these thin basic washers between the button and the background, and that gives me just a little bit of lift from the button off of the cover itself so that there's room for the string to go around. That's just mine. So I poke the holes, lay this on top, place the button on top, and then sew. And you can glue it, of course, if that's what your preference is, but I like to sew it on. So that's how I put the button on, that's how I put the cover, and I chose the size because I like to have a little bit of extra room. So this particular one, these are legal envelopes, so I think this one is like 4.5 by 10, I think is what the final measurements were. All right, so I'm going to put glue on the back of this. Now, normally, when I glue it, I give myself about a 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch, somewhere in between there. But for this one, I actually want these flaps to be pretty close to the end. I want these 2 flaps to be glued down really well. So I'm going to put a little extra glue, and I'm going to put it a little bit farther over toward the edge than I would if I were, say, gluing them together to make the base itself. So again, if that doesn't make sense, watch the video where I talk about the 3 different style bases, and that should hopefully explain to you how I did it. Now, none of these things have to be sewn. These can be created with regular things that you can find around your house. It's not a particularly fussy project. So I'm going to then line this up to make sure that I'm pretty centered and push down. I'll clamp it in just a minute, but I want to do that one, and then I'll do the same thing with this. I'm going to put glue on just this flap, because these 2 flaps are what is holding it to the cover, to the section of the cover. So I'm put quite a bit of glue on that. If it leaks out, it dries clear and it won't show anyway. So I'll put the glue there, and now I'll match this piece up because it's obviously not dried yet. And I'll match this up so that the front and the back, see you have a little bit of wiggle room there, so that the front and the back match. They're the same dimension, width, whatever. Now you can use these kind of clips. You can actually, I can even use, this is going to be crazy, I'll show you. I can actually use these magnets, and I've had a lot of questions about these, and the company is glassboardstudio.com. That's where I get my work surface and these magnets. Look, you can see these magnets are strong enough to actually hold this in place, which to me is crazy. Through the envelopes, through the cover, through the fabric, through all of the things. So I'm going to let that dry for just a moment. So you've got the base now attached to the cover, but I need to cover the inside section. So like if you were to number the pages, 1 being the cover, 2 being the cover page inside the cover, 3 being the cover page inside the back cover, and 4 being the back. So I need to do numbers 2 and 3 now. That can be anything you want. I could put more fabric on chipboard. I could use a thin piece of paper, but my preference is a little bit thicker piece of paper like a cardstock. These are Tim Holtz backdrops, and they come in solid colors, and then he's got some other kinds, I think, that are patterns. They're a really nice, and I couldn't tell you off the top of my head because I've tossed the packaging, but they're a really nice heavyweight card. They're sturdy, they're easy to use, they've got a craft back, which I prefer, and they've got a variety of colors. They come in black and all kinds of things. You can buy a multicolored pack, and I don't believe they're very spendy for quite a few of them. They come in this particular size, and I want to say this is 6 by 9, I think. So it's not necessarily going to be large enough for all your journals. And that was the case with this too, because remember I told you this is 10 by 4.5. So what I did was I took 3 pieces of this, and I don't remember how many you get of each color, if it's 2 or 4 in each package. But I took 3 pieces of this and I cut it to the width that I wanted. This width was 4.5, so I want to say I just did like 4 3/8 to make it just a little bit smaller than the cover. And I cut all 3 to 4 3/8. And then, because this isn't going to be long enough, I cut myself a section or a small piece of the 3rd sheet. And when I you got to be smarter than me. I should have sewn, you know what, I can still do it. I was going to have this be the top of my pocket, right? And glue it in like this. And then I can drop the bottom down a little bit so that you wouldn't see the fact that it wasn't long enough. But I goofed and I sewed it on the wrong way. So I'll just put it on the pocket just like this. It'll still work the same way. So rather than having the lace across the top. And this is a vintage lace that my friend Lisa shared with me. And it was still on my desk. I hadn't put it away. It's absolutely perfect for this. So I was thrilled. Anyway, so rather than doing it like this, I'll do it like this. And once this is glued in place, I obviously won't glue this section so that it'll act as a pocket. You can't tell that the bottom piece isn't long enough to fit. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so that gave it a second to adhere. And I'll open this up. You can still see it's not completely dry, and that's okay. I'm not going to use it today. So you can see when I put it on here, and what I did, because this is a craft back and a solid top, I just took my fingernail file, emery board, and I just went over the edges to kind of, rather than inking it, I just sanded it. So I'll put this in here like this, and you can see, well, maybe you can see, on the bottom, it is not long enough. But when I put the pocket down and glue the pocket in place, it will hide the fact that it's not long enough. So there you go. There's a tip. You can piece together things all the time, make it look like you did it intentionally, and then, you can use what you have without having to go buy something new. Now, I do want a goodly bit of glue on this, and I don't want to go quite to the edge because I want it to adhere to the edge, but I don't want the glue to seep out too much. And I want this to cover the entire back inside because this will hold down the envelope flap to the cover. So I'm going to do this and glue. And sorry, it takes a minute to glue, but I want good coverage on this. I could iron it. I could have put Wonder Under on this if I wanted to and ironed it that way too. That would work just fine. Wonder Under seems to work really well. Move that out of the way. And then I will place this here. And that's what I had that there for. I'm going to clip this. Sometimes I'll sew the whole thing down. My sewing machine is just a standard. Oh, this one's a Pfaff. The other one I used is a Singer. And as long as I have a sharp needle in or a fresh needle, it seems to hold it no problem. It goes through this without getting hung up. I've had some people ask about sewing and how to sew on paper. And I do it quite a bit. And so if you've watched any of my videos, you've seen it. I'm not a seamstress. I mean, there's so many other people that are better at sewing than I am. It's just, for this, it's just I use basic sewing skills, not anything seamstressy or seamstress worthy, I guess I should say. But it's really that user-friendly and that easy. Anybody, if you're interested, I promise you can sew. If you want to use a sewing machine, and you can always hand stitch something, of course, but the sewing machine is truly very, very easy to use. All right, so I want to give that a moment to glue. And then I do the exact same thing to the back. I'm going to come in here and grab this second piece and glue this piece down here. And then I will glue the pocket down on the bottom, just on the 3 sides. I won't glue the whole piece like I did the other one. And then that's my inside front and back covers. Here, I'll even show you. So this one, I decided I'm going to put it here. I'll probably put like a little cluster or something on that, or maybe a quote, who knows. I'll put something on there. And I'm going to use, again, quite a bit of glue because I could gusset this if I wanted, but because this is thick and it's holding the entire center or center section of the journal in place, I want to make sure that it's down really well. And then I'll just line up these bits and just like that. And then I'll clamp it down and I'll let it dry for a while. It dries fairly quickly, but when I'm asking the glue to do something that, you know, it's a big job basically for glue, I give it a little bit more time to glue and adhere, and then that way I'm not sorry later on when things lift up. Okay, let me clamp this and then I'll show you what I mean. Oh, fly be free. Okay, here we go. Had my first week back to school. You know, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or because of the multiple surgeries and the issues I've had the last couple of years, but I tell you what, it completely wipes me out. You know, I know there's people a lot older than me that are still teaching and working full time, and man, hats off to them, because it has been hard. It's harder than I thought it would be. Not that the kids aren't great. Actually, my class this year is absolutely fabulous, but it just takes a lot out of a person. Okay, and that is how I put the inside cover. So pages what I call 2 and 3 on the 4-piece cover system. And when it's all dry and it's all said and done, it will look just like this. Now, the way I'm going to use this is once it's done, all I'll do, and I brought them out here to show you, but you don't need to see me put an eyelet in. What I'll do is I'll line this button up with the back. I'll punch a hole once my inside back cover is on. I'll punch a hole, I'll put the eyelet through, I'll set the eyelet, and then I'll put string through that, and I'll use that kind of like this, basically. I'll use it exactly like this to wrap it around. I really like that system. It's fast, it's easy, and it's a quick way to get in and out of a journal. So that is how I attach the base to the cover. I hope that was helpful. I hope if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Just pop them down below and I will get to them. I had mentioned some people. I deliberately, when I did the bookmark video, I intentionally made more bookmarks intending to share them with people because reading and books are probably my favorite thing ever. And I wanted to share some with viewers. They were mailed out yesterday. So if I had told you that I was mailing you one, it should be coming soonish, unless you're in the UK, and I've mailed them, but who knows when they'll get there. And that was the reason I had to go in and into the post office to mail them. Okay, what's up next? I'm still going to do 10-minute makes, but I'm not able to create like I want to and enjoy doing. So I'm going to play as I can, and I'll share videos as I can. I just drew a blank on their name. Crafty by Tony and Margaret from Seven Plaza are doing Scraptember. If you're a stamp person, Scraptember has been a thing for a while. Simon Stamps does it. It's fabulous. It's a lot of fun. All the manufacturers have some fabulous deals and such. And I saw in one of their videos, I haven't actually watched a whole video, but I saw that they're doing Scraptember. And well, man, creating with scraps, me, love it, love it, love it. I can't walk away. So I intend to join in. Those two are hostessing it, but they said anybody's welcome to do it. And so I've gotten a couple pieces made, and I will share those at a later time. But they have on Margaret at Seven Plaza on her coffee channel, she has this list that you can print. And so I'm going to be playing along and doing this. And I'm not going to do a video for each one by any means, but I will show something like an envelope, and I'm going to use one of my favorite kind of envelopes to make a Jibineri envelope, and then photograph. I've got plans for almost all of it and how I'm going to do it. But one of the things is packaging. And for those of you, again, who've been watching a little bit, this was something I got from Amazon. This cover for this journal was something I got from Amazon for a while ago, and it was the only one I've ever got like it. And it's not the the paper with all the holes in it that you get inside. Some people thought that was it, but it's not. It is this. And Rosalie sent me those things that I showed you last time. And when I was taking off her address to write her a thank you, I realized the outside of the envelope looked like this. It's a 100% recyclable product. And she lives in Canada, so I don't know if it's something that you get there. But I was freaking thrilled when I realized it, because this is the same exact packing material. And so for the used packaging component, I'm going to make a small journal using this, because honestly, I loved working with this. I just sewed it on a piece of chipboard and did this. This one's almost the same exact thing. Instead of having an open spine, it has a solid spine. They're 3 separate pieces that are put together and hinged with this and some lace, some cotton lace. Anyway, love, love, love it. So I'm going to make a smaller or mini journal, because I don't really have enough for a bigger journal. But I am going to use this to meet that packaging requirement. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping that, you know, when the school year starts, there's just a ton to do up front, getting to know the kids, making plans and changes and things that are working well and not working well and blah, blah, blah. So hopefully at some point it'll slow down a bit and I'll have a little bit more time. But I absolutely intend to do this, and I'm looking forward to making a small journal. So anyway, that's what's coming up for me. And when I have ideas that are super quick that I want to share, I'll still pull out the 10-minute makes, because those are a lot of fun and they're a great way to craft when you don't have a lot of time to craft. I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please do watch Margaret and Tony and anybody else who does the Scraptember. I hope that helps those of you who had a question about how to combine those pieces for the cover and the spine or the insides of a journal. And take care. Thank you for watching. Happy creating.